Bheki Cele has told the Human Rights Commission hearings into the July 2021 unrest that the arrest of former President Jacob Zuma ignited the violence. Cele is the first witness to take the stand in the Gauteng-leg of the investigative hearings sitting in Sandton. More than 300 people died in the violence that rocked KwaZulu-Natal and parts of Gauteng. Scores of businesses were looted and infrastructure damaged. Cele has also testified that he never received any intelligence report on that impending threat. SABC News reporter Chriselda Lewis is on that story. Let's cross to her for more. Very good afternoon to you, Chriselda. Are we correct in hearing that the police minister only got reports about the violence, warning him about it, 6 months after the incidents happened?
Well, Nzinga, that's certainly what is emerging here at the Human Rights Commission hearings into the July violence. We're hearing now that Police Minister Bheki Cele only received what appears to have been this intelligence report 6 months after testifying at the hearings. Remember, the first section of the hearings had been held in KwaZulu-Natal, and he had testified in those hearings on the 3rd of December. And it was on the 3rd of December that Bheki Cele says he only received a document basically warning about the violence that was due to take place in July. So you can count, Nzinga, between July and December, that making it about 6 months, only receiving that report. Remember, he's been adamant, and he reiterated that here today in this sitting. He is adamant that he never received any report relating to the impending threat. Remember, there'd also been a spat between himself and the then State Security Minister Ayanda Dlodlo, in which Dlodlo had indicated that an intelligence report had basically been given to Bheki Cele about the impending threat, to which he had responded at the height of the unrest that he had received no such report. That spat had taken place between the two of them. You'll also know that Ayanda Dlodlo is one of those who is going to be called here to the hearings to also testify. So that is quite shocking evidence that has been given at this particular hearing, that this report, the first that Bheki Cele, as the police minister, had gotten wind of these warnings, as he says, was only on the 3rd of December, and that's on the day that he testified in the KwaZulu-Natal leg of the hearings into the July unrest. Also, as you indicated, Nzinga, he says that there had been what he referred to as, clouds of warnings, basically about what was going to happen in KwaZulu-Natal. But what he does believe was one of the contributing factors to the violence, as you alluded to in that intro, was the arrest of former President Jacob Zuma. And what seems to be, you would know currently, there seems to be a lot of discontent and a lot of division within the top brass of the police, Minister Bheki Cele, and as well as the police commissioner. What we're hearing here also, one of the evidence leaders asking General Bheki Cele whether, in his affidavit, he was quite scathing in saying that basically the National Police Commissioner was nowhere to be found. He basically said, given the context at which what was happening at the time, it certainly seems that more could have been done. There could have been more action that could have been taken, even on the side of the top brass of the South African Police Service. That's quite critical in this instance, because you must recall there had been that expert panel that had been commissioned by President Cyril Ramaphosa, which was to probe whether the state organs, including the Justice and Security cluster, whether there was a proper reaction to what had been taking place when the threat itself had gotten underway, when the violence or the unrest had gotten underway in the country. And there was a resounding no with what that expert panel had found that was commissioned by the president. So a clear indication here. So what we're hearing is that the incarceration of former President Jacob Zuma was a contributing factor. The lack of intelligence was a contributing factor. The lack of visibility, even at top brass level within the South African Police Service, was also a contributing factor. And that's what General Bheki Cele says. When he was asked just before we went to lunch, Nzinga, about whether he believes, that more could have been done, he agrees that the Justice and Security cluster could have done more, and not just on its own, together with the economic cluster, because you must also recall that a number of buildings had been damaged. There was looting that had taken place in July when the violence had started off in KwaZulu-Natal. So it really points to a very worrying picture of, how police had responded to the violence back in July. And, if I should say so myself, the police minister doesn't seem like he is arguing with the findings of that expert panel that found that certainly more could have been done.
SABC News senior reporter Chriselda Lewis just giving us an update on what's happening. Chriselda is following their proceedings and will come back a little bit later on to update us about what else emerges from the testimony and hearings there. Thanks for your time, Chriselda. Now, the National Institute